Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Bucks news and some Giannis news. A little bit of an update. This is according to NBA insider Mark Stein. Maybe some of you follow his Substack, his Stein report and such. But got a little bit of an update. Now, these are rumors. We don't know if they're all 100% on the up and up, but I think we're all kind of waiting for some rumors and reports when it comes to the Bucks' plans with Giannis or what Giannis wants to do. Now, according to Mark Stein, the Bucks' plan, their pitch plan to Giannis, involves pitching Giannis on staying in the Eastern Conference given how wide things look forward in the Eastern Conference. And kind of selling him, apparently, this is an interesting strategy, but I understand where they're coming from. I don't know if Giannis is all about this, but pitching him on a gap year for 2025-26. So this was according to Mark Stein. Quote, Milwaukee has indeed been eliminated in round one by Indiana in each of the past two springs, which can't exactly be described as promising when the Pacers have a real shot to make their first trip to the NBA Finals since 2000. Yet simply staying in the East would almost certainly enhance Giannis' chances of winning the second championship he so deeply craves, given the injury-related uncertainty facing contenders like Boston and Philadelphia, and how much harder it clearly is just to get out of the West and into the NBA Finals. A significant aspect of the Bucks' pitch is selling Giannis on the idea of a so-called gap year that enables the team to retool the team while allowing him to maintain his one-team affiliation after 12 seasons in Milwaukee. The very forgiving East landscape certainly enhances the notion that it wouldn't take years to return to contention. Interesting. I completely understand where Milwaukee's coming from this. A gap year. Not only, maybe to get out of some salary cap stuff and all that, but let's call it here too. The Dame injury. It's the Dame injury. If Dame's not hurt, where he's potentially going to miss all of next year, I don't think we're hearing anything about a gap year. But the fact that Dame's hurt, and he's going to miss a huge chunk, if not all of last season, you factor it into the gap year pitch to Giannis. But the other part of this from Mark Stein is I'm a little curious on this one, and I'll throw it back to you Bucks fans. But he also noted that the Bucks are hopeful that head coach Doc Rivers can boost their case because it is believed that the two, Giannis and Doc, have a strong working relationship. So I'm one that wanted a change at the head coaching spot for the Milwaukee Bucks. I still feel like that should have been a move for this Bucks to bring in a different voice, to bring in a different head coach. Now, the NBA is a little bit different than when it comes to the NFL, where it's like, oh, that hot offensive coordinator or that defensive coordinator that's drawing so much attention. We all know these coordinators. When it comes to the NBA, we don't necessarily know the top assistants. And the NBA, the conversation goes, well, do you want a retread or do you want a first-timer? Bucks tried that with Adrian Griffin, didn't even last half the season. Barely even, almost got to the All-Star break. And actually, they won quite a few games, and Doc Rivers ended up being the Eastern Conference coach at that point. So it's a little bit different that way, where, okay, you move on from Doc, it's like, okay, is it you're going to go with the first-timer again? You're going to go with the retread? What's the scenario here? And I wouldn't even, there's a couple names out there. Obviously, Malone, the former Nuggets head coach. There's Taylor Jenkins, who was a Bucks assistant under Mike Budenholzer, let go by Memphis. Those would be two names I think would be at the top of the list. But if you're a Bucks fan, are you willing, not that you have much say, But would you be okay with Doc remaining as head coach for the Bucks if it meant Giannis is going to stick around for a few more years? I know it's tough because a lot of us, maybe not everybody, but a lot of us have our question marks, have our issues with Doc Rivers. But if it comes with Giannis committing, and I think that commitment that fans want to see is maybe another extension, not just by his word and saying, yep, I'll play, but it potentially could be a free agent after next year. I think if it came in the form of a contract extension, that type of a commitment, then would you be good with Doc coming back if it meant Giannis is staying here for a few more years? I think so. I think and this is coming from me, who I'm not a believer in Doc full on. I'm just not. But if it meant Giannis staying, man, the fan in me, I really want that. For what it's worth, these are just their opinions. But Carmelo, Anthony, and Paul George, they think Giannis is staying. Paul George on his podcast P with Paul George, said, quote, Giannis is that old era cut. I think he want to stay in Milwaukee his whole career. Carmelo followed up by saying he's not going anywhere. All right, so Carmelo, obviously former NBA player. Paul George, currently in the NBA. All right, that's their opinions. Maybe Bucks fans think, all right, cool. So all right, gap year. Going back to this gap year thing. Would it help the Bucks in terms of roster flexibility? So the Bucks right now are set to be $23 million under the luxury tax entering the offseason if they don't bring back Brook Lopez. But according to Bobby Marks from ESPN, they would move back into the tax by retaining Lopez if they use their $14.5 million mid-level exception and fill out the roster. So I don't think Brook Lopez back. I wouldn't bring back Brook Lopez. Just I mean, age-wise, money-wise, that sort of thing. I think if you're entering a gap year, you don't bring back a Brook Lopez. I don't think that's the case. It's going to be a weird year, I think, in the Eastern Conference next year when you look at these teams. So, and specifically, maybe some of the teams that we thought would be near the top, especially Boston now. The whole Jason Tatum thing, how much that they got a lot of talented players on there, but they also are going to have a very expensive roster next year, and you're not going to have Tatum. So could they look at that as their own potential gap year? Remember, they got new ownership coming in here too. I don't know if that would affect it at all. Sometimes we see that. Sometimes we see new ownership coming in, like the Bucks, and they just influx it with cash. Don't know if that'd be the case with the Celtics or not. But with Tatum essentially missing all next year too, and already a very expensive roster, could that be a gap year? Would they approach that? I don't know. Who the heck knows what's going on with the 76ers and Joel Embiid and Paul George? I mean, that's just a injury-riddled team. It'll be interesting to see what the Knicks do this offseason if they don't make it to the NBA Finals this year. Cleveland, I mean, dominated the regular season, but fell short. How aggressive are they going to be able to be in the offseason? A lot of talent on there, too. Indiana, man, could they be in the best spot right now? Who knows? But they may be having to shell out some money for some of their players here, too. So I get where the Eastern Conference is easier to make that push to get to the NBA Finals. But I think the Eastern Conference is going to be a weird year when you got the Bucks. Let's say Giannis is back and he buys that gap year. Celtics, could they do the same? It's going to be an interesting offseason. But back to the question at hand. If you're a Bucks fan, are you willing? Not that you have much say, but are you willing to welcome back Doc Rivers and embrace the Doc Rivers era, continuing the Doc Rivers era, if it meant a few more years of Giannis? Do you make that trade? I think I do. I'll be honest. The fan of me, yeah, I want Giannis. I selfishly just want Giannis in Milwaukee. I want Giannis. Not all about the players and dictating front office moves and coaching moves, but the NBA to me that's the trend that it's in. That's the era that it's in right now. And I just want Giannis. Fan of me, I just want Giannis, okay? So, gotta make him happy.